Looks like they might be in between meetings right at the moment, but they should be starting any second now.
Is that okay, Savannah? Are you ready?
Title of it in there.
I should have turned left and right. Oh, good morning.
Oh.
Good morning. My name is Chris Caius. I'm chairman of the Administration Committee for Kane County, and I'm calling this meeting to order at about 10:33 on Wednesday, February 14th, 2024. Can we have roll call, please?
Berman,
Berman's here.
Davist,
Davist remote.
Ford,
present.
Gums, Young,
Here.
Juby,
here.
Caius.
Caius present.
And we do have Mr. Tepe.
Tepe here.
I gave her-
Tepe.
Have an in-person quorum.
So we have a quorum in person, and with the permission of the committee, we will allow Mr. Davis, Ms. Gums, when she joins us, and Mr. Berman to participate as voting members. No objection? Great. Then may I have a motion or a request for unanimous consent for the minutes from January 10th, 2024? Ford moves. Second?
Davist second.
Davis second. Any questions, changes, modifications? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. In the finance report, saw Ms. Hopkins there. She's not doing a report this morning. That close, she could have been doing a report. But the reports are on file, they're attached. So moving on, is there any public comment? Is anyone signed up in person, online, or in writing? No comments? Then we will move on to item 7, Facilities Master Plan Update. We have Mr. Jason Dwyer, a White and Company, and I turn it over to Mr. Fonstock if you want to lead in on that.
So good morning. This is Roger Fonstock with IT and Building Management. This morning we have Jason Dwyer from White. He's going to give us an update on the facilities master plan. This is something that Heidi Files, myself and other team members have been working on with White and Company for some time. We are making the final approach here to the master plan. I think you're going to find that today's presentation incorporates a lot of the flexibility that's been requested and discussed over the past few months about the master plan and the various facilities, taking into consideration that we have a lot of opportunities. We have a lot of options and things before us, and we don't, for many of the things that are more long-term, we don't have to necessarily shut the door or lock ourselves into one particular direction for things that are maybe in the 3 years and beyond, or 10 years and beyond. So I hope that that is reflected in the information that you're going to see today, and we think that it provides the flexibility and enough direction that we can proceed with getting the county board to look at adopting the master plan. So with that, we have Jason Dwyer, and he can do his presentation, and we'll take questions.
Great.
Morning, Jason.
Morning, everyone. Jason Dwyer with White and Company. I think Heidi just passed out the draft master plan. I'm not going to go through in depth here today. Last month's meeting, we kind of talked about the organization of the components of the master plan into short, midterm, and long-term scenarios. And I think Roger did a great job of kind of highlighting that as we've gone through the process over the last several months here, we tried to build in some good flexibility and alternatives for the county to evolve with the master plan as things move forward. But I'll just kind of give you a quick overview. Basically, what you were given today in the draft form is a summary of the information we've been working on. The executive summary is probably the key component. It summarizes the strategy around the master plan, and the graphic up on the screen really highlights the project components broken down by time frame. Section 2 provides a little bit of background in terms of the process, meetings that we had, how we went about collecting information, going back to the very beginning of the process, actually the prior work of space needs analysis and planning there, and then visioning session to lead into the planning process as a whole. Section 3 is just a little deeper dive on each of the components, and that's broken down into 3 components. Judicial projects, Section 3A. Section 3B is government center projects, or government projects as a whole, I should say, because that encompasses health department, CANCOM, and some other components as well. And then finally, in that section, how we're addressing the need for satellite locations. And then Section 4 talks a little bit about implementation strategy, incorporates some components on sustainable design that came out of visioning session and other Kane County policies, as well as some timeframes for projects. We know right now that a lot of these projects are probably many years out into the future, but we provided just a basic timeframe for what it takes to do sort of planning and programming, design and construction of projects, so that as you're planning for the future, when you're ready to move forward with a specific project, you kind of have a good frame of reference of how long it'll take to go from the beginning of design to completion of construction. So what's up on the screen, again, is stuff that I went through last month. Summary, just highlighting some of the priority projects in the short term. I know there's been a lot of discussion of late about the health department, so that's kind of at the top of the list. Storage facility, some expansion components for the Juvenile Justice Center. I believe that's in discussion to work on programming concept design as well. I think that was on the agenda yesterday at the board meeting that weren't able to get to, but you know, there's been a little bit more urgent need on some of the components on the judicial side relative to juvenile justice. So that is kind of identified as one of the shorter term, higher priority projects, along with some space needs for state's attorney, expansion of office space, of which we've given you a couple different options on how that can be organized. And then as you get into midterm, we're starting to deal with some of the bigger projects, longer term components like judicial center expansion, really consistent with some of the primary objectives that came out of our steering group meetings and meetings with this committee and committees of the whole over the process, to really consolidate all of the core functions of the judiciary into the judicial center. But knowing that that's a much larger project undertaking, that's a little bit ways out in the future, there'll need to be more planning around how that can be funded and implemented in the long term or midterm, as well as how to address CANCOM OEM. We've identified the satellites in here, remembering that there's some key components for satellites. The Court Services Probation Department has pretty significant satellite presence in Aurora and Elgin right now to work with their clients, predominantly where they reside, as well as incorporating the components for the health department as well, maintaining satellite presence for health operations in the north and south part of the county. And then finally, the long-term discussion about how to address the needs of the government center as a whole. And there's a technical recommendation, which we've talked about before, of trying to consolidate all of the functions at the Judicial Center site, the greater Judicial Center site, north and south of Route 38 at Peck there. But we've given two other scenarios. A lot of discussion was had over the planning process about whether there's a potential to renovate and make modifications to the campus as it resides here, or the alternative of moving the government center to Fabian. So we've worked on it a little bit like a kit of parts or options for you. I mean, that way I think it gives the county a little bit more flexibility in terms of what's going to be best for the county at the time that project is ready to be implemented. And then last but not least is some of these other projects can get implemented. There's the Randall Road facility. A lot of the components at that facility, hopefully in the midterm, will be consolidated at the Judicial Center. So you'll have an asset there that will have, limited remaining functions in the building, but we think it can still serve a need for the future of the county, or there's an option to divest of that asset as well. So this kind of gives the whole overview of the components. I'm happy to answer any questions about it. I think the intent was to originally to try to have a little bit more dialogue about it at an upcoming committee of the whole, which I think was going to be at the end of this month, but I know now that your board meeting got kind of shifted to that. So I think we'll have to determine, I don't know if Roger or Heidi have a recommendation on next steps, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any about what we've delivered today or what we've talked about in the past.
Okay. Any questions for Jason right now? I know it's pretty fast here, a lot to look over.
Yeah.
Something about a year in the process here, something
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, about a year's worth of work on this with the whole group.
Any questions, Juby? No, good.
No, I just have a comment that I like the size of the book. It makes it easier to go back and forth and, see what you're providing and the reasons why. So thank you.
Great. And I think too, we can provide a digital copy to anybody that would like that. Sometimes when you're looking at something like this, it's nice to have a physical copy where you can flip around. So, and just, we've highlighted it as draft only. I mean, this is sort of the culmination of all the work, but ultimately we're not calling it final until it would be approved and adopted by the board. So that's why we've got the draft stamp on there right now. And, if there's any other feedback or final fine tuning that needs to happen, that can still be done.
I'd like a electronic copy.
Okay.
I send it to the committee.
Okay.
Because I know when I take it home, I'll be able to look at this for about 2 days and then it'll be in the pile of things. Good recommendation.
Sure.
Okay.
Will do.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Jason.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Then on to the Executive Director's Report,
Yeah.
Mr. Roger Fonstock.
Okay. Good morning. This is Roger Fonstock, again with IT and Building Management. And today, I'm going to talk about something that kind of is sandwiched between the master plan, and at the end, there was a discussion about signage that was discussed. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the government center here. It is mentioned in the short-term planning, and there was a discussion about how we go about working with the government center campus. If the plan as adopted means that, you're not going to be immediately addressing a new government center or potentially building, how do you renovate, expand, or deal with the current service constraints and problems and challenges that you have? So I put together just a couple slides to kind of walk through what we think would be, the necessary steps or a planning process to go through, basically planning at the government center. So this isn't a decision or anything that we're making today. It's just kind of to guide you through what we think the next steps are. So I'm going to help with Charles here to hand these out. Yeah, I don't need mine. Here. Okay. So all right. right, I think I got everything. So let's see if they got it. I don't know if you gentlemen would have to help with advancing the slides. There we go. Okay. So, in the time that we've done reviews of the government center campus, and there's been lots of discussions about what, does and doesn't work well here at the campus. And this is just a brief summary. It's probably not all inclusive, but I think this hits most of the issues that people find at the campus. It's in one page for you. So office and meeting space and storage space at this campus is always a challenge. We're basically have no empty or vacant office space. There's very limited space for meetings, especially large meetings, and we have no storage space really to speak of. I think everybody can attest to the parking at Building C and Building A. It's always a challenge, whether it's accessibility parking or it's just proximity to services. People having to climb the hill from the lower lot to the front of Building A to get services. Accessibility for the public services and ease of use. You probably have seen people wandering the campus. They're trying to find the clerk's office for a birth certificate, the treasurer to pay their taxes, assessors, supervisor of assessment office to get an exemption form, among other services. So the ADA in the buildings, offices, boardroom itself, our boardroom itself has a ramp outside to get up the stairs to get into the boardroom. Accessibility for restrooms is problematic in most of the buildings, especially Building A. Wayfinding and signs and directions, which is kind of the segue into later discussion about signs. Interior roads, drives, sidewalks. We have places where you can't get from point A to point B without walking in the road. Namely the lower lot. There's some areas where people walk up the drive in order to get to Building B or Building A. The security and screening, we've had a couple conversations about security, and the sheriff's stepped up to say they're going to help us with the security plans for this campus. There's some things that need to be done in order to accommodate that. It's not going to happen just by saying that the sheriff can take over and help us with that planning. We're going to need to make some changes. We've already had a couple of preliminary discussions about that, but how do you have enough space to have an entryway and screening the visitors and queuing people, managing it in all types of weather, all types of services that we deliver, including tax collection and other things. It's going to be an interesting exercise. And then employee access and security for our own employees and our own privacy. We've had a few episodes where people have had privacy issues in their offices from the public hallway. We've done some things to try to lock certain doors, try to limit access, provide better signage, try to limit access to certain areas. But building egress, getting out of the building when there's a problem, and building safety plans for protecting the people when they're in the building, all of those things are challenges for this particular campus. I say all that understanding that there's no immediate solution to it. There's some planning that needs to be done. And from the master plan, it looks like it's going to be, somewhere in that 3 to 10 years before you're back to addressing what you want to do with this disposition of this building or these buildings. And I would say that these buildings and the services provided in the buildings are probably going to be here in these buildings for the next foreseeable 3 to 10 years. So getting comfortable in our seats and figuring out what we're going to do becomes very important. So direction and planning, I guess the question we have from the committee and the board members is, are the current challenges and conditions at the government center just acceptable? And I don't think anybody would say yes. We do need to do some things to make this better for the community and better for our employees and the public that we represent. How do you address the challenges? You can't do this all in one motion. There needs to be an orchestrated effort to do this, because it will involve moving things, renovating some things, changing how the facilities are used. The facility master plan proposes addressing the government center in a more long-term objective, but the short-term objective at this point becomes to maintain, improve, and renovate the things at the government center that would make some of those challenges go away or dissipate. So how can we address them now in the short term. We need to change how we use the government center campus to address these challenges. And I say that from experience, all the years of being here. I think many of you that have been here, the way it exists today is not designed to address some of the public service challenges that we have. And you find these people wandering the campus trying to find things. And a lot of it is because we set ourselves up that way 20, 30 years ago. And just because we've always done it that way doesn't mean we should continue to do it that way. And I think that's going to come out in the safety reviews as we get into that. It's very difficult to secure and keep you safe when we do everything in this distributed fashion, and the issue is everywhere. Security is an issue like everywhere you turn. So how do you start building areas that are protected, areas that have defined purposes that have that type of protection built in? So the changes could seem subtle at times. And then there's some things that could seem significant. And, at that point, you're talking about, literally, we're going to move some people. People get, very comfortable in their space. They don't necessarily like change or moving. But I think you're going to have to do some of those exercises in order to really address the types of issues that we're facing with the space and the public service and the needs, especially if we're staying here and we're not talking about any type of new building or major renovations soon. So the proposed path, for consideration is, we need to develop an orchestrated plan. And like I said, I'm not talking about adopting a plan today, but we need something for the next 1 to 3 years that's going to help us manage the government center campus transformation. And I use that word to, describe that we own it. It's ours. It needs to be transformed. We're not replacing it. There's nothing going to happen in that amount of time where we could garner the funds and resources to build the campus that would be required to replace this place. So we need to identify scenarios for this campus, for the offices and departments. We have the existing space needs assessment and some of the condition reports, and we know a lot about the offices and departments. I think we need to revisit that and go back to them and talk to them about the best service delivery we could achieve on this campus for their office, for their spaces, and work with them on developing that plan. This will involve reorganizing the office spaces. We're going to try to serve the public and the business of the county the best you can, but develop a more comprehensive plan that addresses the government center challenges, which we described in the first slide. So what's the vision for the government center? And I want you to think about this because we're going to start going through this planning process or working towards a plan that we would want the board to buy into. We want the offices and departments here to also buy into this. How do we see the government center working in the future? How do you address those challenges that we described in the first slide? All of those things, how would you address each one of them? I mean, I'm thinking enumerated. How do I address this when I move a service or when I change a department? Does the business case support that move? And then once you have the business case and it's supported, the office and department ultimately committing to that is another step, because we have offices with internal control and we have departments with established presence. So it's not easy. We need to create that orchestrated plan. Are we committed to making difficult decisions and taking these types of actions, moving some of our offices to better serve the public, better serve our employees in their offices? Would we consider while we're trying to renovate or unload space to make these types of changes, would we consider renting space to accommodate the changes? In other words, we have to evacuate or move out so we can go in, remediate, take care of things like asbestos and structural changes, door openings, staircases, egress, and then come back and move back into a space that's more conducive and better suiting to our business. So those are some things that we'd have to be looking at as you renovate old buildings or renovate these buildings that are aging. So you're looking at as well correcting and remedying hazards in the buildings, not just structurally putting some walls and doors in. As we tear up carpet or flooring, we find asbestos in areas. We have to stop, do an abatement, pull everything aside and wait until we're done remediating. There's other issues that come up as well, structural issues where there's things that have been done in this building that you won't know until you take the wall and open it. So, heating and air conditioning in this building, everybody knows we have the boilers and heat systems that have to be addressed as you change the structure or the use of the building. That'll become a challenge. So some of these things you can, incrementally do or do small changes. And then when you get into larger changes, I think you're going to see some, significant costs associated with renovating spaces. If you have long-term staying power, you want to be in this building. But those are things that we would get to. So, this was kind of the what if scenario. And I think, I don't need to read it to you, but, a lot of it has to do with what if all the services that the public would want are in building A and building B. So you have the clerk's office in building A. You could get everything that you need from the government center from one of those two places. The other buildings, C, E, F, and G, are used for departments without the customer facing services. The public employees, they could arrive, they'd know where to park. They'd have accessible parking near the services. Employees could enter the building safely and have a safe office environment. If the public could enter the building safely and access all the services they need, not get lost. And no one wandered the campus looking for the office or department. And, the seniors and special needs visitors, they could access everything at the government center, and they could even use the restrooms. Parking services, the offices, departments, clearly identified locations on signs, wayfinding. We've discussed digital signage so that we could update it without having somebody slap a new piece of paper on the wall every time they want to change something. Then the last part is near and dear to probably Charles's heart is, focus on online delivery more. How do we identify what people are using at the government center and figure out a way to not have them come here, have them do it online? We've done a lot of work with the tax administration process with Mark Armstrong, trying to get more services online. I know we've done some things with financial reporting and some of the forms that we process, but doing more things online would also be a part of that, trying to figure out why people come here. Tax payment is probably one of the big things, elections, vital records, assessment, exemption forms is a big demand. I think those are kind of the big ones. So, but this is kind of the what if scenario. If you address those challenges, would you get to this point? Would this be where you would end up? And you do that in a period of 1 to 3 years. And that's, part of a vision that you would establish for this government center campus. So where do you begin? I think the first thing is to revisit the space needs assessment and the planning process that was done and commit to improving and renovating this campus. I don't believe from the master plan, if you read through it, that there's a immediate desire, funding, budget to move from this campus. But that's up to the board if you decide you want to try to do that. I think we need to discuss the scenarios and options for the various offices and departments on this campus. I know there's people that will probably want to stay put. They'll want to be in their office, but hopefully through, some of the things that we need to change and explain, there would be cooperation and that we could do it for the public and for the employees to make it work better. But developing an orchestrated plan makes make way for the necessary space, so that you could renovate or you could make the changes. You can expand and contract a little bit and have room for people to operate, especially people that are coming in, new programs, new people that are being, pushed into spaces right now that really weren't designed for offices, or they're doubling up in cubicles, which we have quite a bit of that around here. But coming up with a 3-year plan for how you have a vision for this campus and what we can do to make it better, again, for the public and for the employees. I say all that, there's still room for short-term changes. We're going to talk about signs in a little bit. There's some things that you do to make the place better day by day. There's the security that's going to be ramping up. I know they're talking about it. There's going to be some activities, some things that we have to do to start. And then there's probably going to be some longer term things that we have to do in order to really make it work. So what are the next steps? To draft the plan and outline and scope, determine resources and effort. And, these are kind of the next steps that I see. the business case for the government center plans, the project outline and a scope. So not detail, but just outline and a scope of what we would want to do. The phases of it, how would you phase this in? Because you're not going to do it all in one episode. A schedule that covers the 1 to 3 year time frame, coming up with an initial cost estimate to kind of share with the board that if you buy into this, it does have costs. There's not, but can we program that into the capital budget or to the expenses that we're planning for a 5-year capital plan? Evaluate and talk to everybody, office and departments, about their risks, about their concerns, go through the discussions about why I would need to stay where I'm at and I can't change. And then also look at the short-term and long-term goals so that we're following the master plan. But at the same time, trying to determine if it's a short-term thing that we can do or is it really long-term. If we put large dollars into one of these buildings, it's long-term. And that'll be probably one of the major decision-making factors is, how far do you go before you're really committed, long-term into these buildings. And then the last piece is like, there are quick wins. There are things that you can do relatively quickly that could make changes that would have a good impact and be very helpful. So I say all these things not to distract you from other business at hand. We have the health department project that is, on top of everyone's mind. The master plan is going to continue. This is something that needs to start somewhere, and we need to start talking about it to address it. There's other plans that are going on for the judicial center master plan. I know the chief judge's office and their partners are working on that. This would be more focused on the government center here. We're looking at trying to bring on our own team to support this and potentially work with someone to help us get through the initial planning process. We're not there yet, but that's where we're headed. I just wanted to kind of give you an update of what we've been working on, myself and a few others more privately. We haven't brought it out and talked about it, but we are reviewing and going through what can be done for this campus. What can you do? And I think this is kind of just a view into what we're considering. So with that, I am done speaking. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Momentarily done. Huh?
I'm done.
I think you come up next here pretty fast. Okay, questions, comments on this? Committee members first, or Mr. Rock jumps in.
Sure.
I don't see anybody. Oh, Juby?
So I like this. I like this a lot because we're here regardless of what the big plan is. And so you're right, we need to make it as efficient as possible.
Lean
like-
into your microphone a little bit.
Sorry, what's wrong with our things all of a sudden?
Hey.
I like the
Yeah.
idea that we're considering moving client facing or public facing people on a single floor. And as someone who has a really hard time with change, you'll notice I never sit anywhere else in the boardroom. I have to sit in this chair or I have to be in the audience because I just don't do change well. I appreciate that you're considering that for people and that you're hopefully going to help work through that. They may have to make some uncomfortable changes, which I may end up on the other side of the room eventually. I understand, but
Thanks for letting us know how to drive you crazy.
oh, move me.
Take her chair.
Just move me. I don't do well with that. So, but anyway, I appreciate the little things that you considered, which are really helpful to people who have to occupy the space.
Thank you.
And to add to that, just from what I've seen in the last couple of years here, in the last year especially, makes this space that we're in now much more livable. And thanks to Roger and Henry, Matt, Brent, all the guys, Charles.
Mr. Chairman Ford?
Hmm?
Yeah,
Oh. Mr. Ford.
all right, thank
Oh,
you.
you're over there. You're not in your. That'd be crazy.
No, don't, I'm not like that. So, but, I do love this report. This has been long overdue for this. And, I think it's really looking at it open-minded, which what we need to. Of course, I still stand where I'm at about being in this space, what else it could be used for. That overall, I think at some point we do need to relocate or combine, because we have too many rooftops here. And more rooftops you have, the more money you're gonna spend down the road, and we have to take that consideration. But we do get a chance to clean up the building as this goes on, the way Roger explains it, with asbestos and other issues. But this is gonna be a good report when it's all done. I got a feeling it's gonna be a little expensive, which reminds me of Third Street courthouse, where every time we turn around, we're spending more and more money there, trying to keep it to a point where it was properly usable. We don't really realize when it comes to meeting all the up-to-date codes and specs, how far off we are here. And that's what this is gonna let us know. And we can't do everything, but at least we can do some things to at least make it as usable as possible, especially to the public.
Great, thank you. Okay, any other comments? Mr. Roth, oh, yes.
I've been, meeting with most of the directors, and I have a whole list of, I think, the quick wins for Building A. And I've set up a meeting with Henry in the next few weeks to discuss it. I don't want to take up your time here, but I think there are a lot of quick wins, so it won't be super expensive and get us the direction. Some of the questions, and I'll cover it with Henry too, what % are we not having to worry about asbestos? I know you remediated down below us a couple months ago. Are we 80% through that or 5% through that? And the same thing with lead. And then also, when do we trigger, if we do too many changes, we have to, we lose the grandfather, we have to put a sprinkler system. So that needs,
I'm going to.
and that's,
glad
I'm
you brought
not
those
looking for an
questions up. I
answer, but
think
those
we-
are some of the concerns.
You just
You'll open the
you
Pandora's
dug up a
box.
whole bunch of stuff.
I know,
right
and
there.
that's why I set up a
I
meeting
guess
with
that's
Henry
so-
to.
So,
to-
but
to
good
document
insight,
that.
I think, yeah,
So-
for where we want to go and what the information we want to get.
Yeah, I would say that all of the buildings had a study done. It was probably about the time or right before I began about all of the hazard mitigation in the building. And there was a directed effort at all of that. Now, we're dealing with things that were non-friable, undisturbed, but now we're trying to go in to make a change, and you have to address it before you stir it up
I
and make it
understand.
friable.
I understand. And that's why I want to take it offline. And that's my
Yeah,
purpose of the meeting with Henry.
okay.
Good. Okay. And Mr. Young,
One comment, I was just thinking, I've only been here for a year, but you're the courthouse, up the street, this facility here, this is prime real estate. I'm just thinking out loud, how much is this actually worth? And I'm sure you've thought about this, where
Yes.
could there be a developer that could come in and take this, for a very large amount of money, and then you could actually use that for a new building, and then you actually make money on that proposition. And I'm sure you've thought about that, but
Yes.
I haven't heard it. So
that again,
I-
you can get together with.
Yeah, I have
for-
some
as
numbers.
far as strategy and
Yeah,
stuff like that. We-
comparisons. Yeah.
We've gone over it a couple of times, but yeah, we
Yeah,
appreciate
I
that.
could share that with you. Absolutely.
Asking the questions to get the information and to get up to speed. Absolutely. And that sure we'll always keep all the options open to factor in what possibilities are. Okay,
That's it.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Then we will then move to the meat and potatoes of our meeting, where we will, I would entertain a motion to potentially approve, introduce and potentially approve authorizing the building management department to participate in the Omnia Joint Purchasing Agreement with Amazon Services LLC online marketplace. Moved by Young, second by Ford.
Yes, good morning.
Henry Thompson.
Good morning, Henry Thompson, Building Management. First, I just want to apologize to committee because I had the committee flow incorrect on the template for the executive summary. So I'll make sure that's corrected before it hits the next committee.
Oh, okay. In
Apologize
the
for any-
executive summary, it says that
Yeah.
it originates here and.
Correct. It
No,
starts at
didn't say
admin
it
and what-
originated here, just went to exec. So you may have noticed that. I was
That's-
going to bring it up. Thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
sorry about that, but I will have it corrected to by the next committee. Item A for building management is authorizing a contract with Amazon Amazon Services. They are Omnia partner. We're looking to spend 50,000. It is budgeted. We're recommending your approval.
Okay, any questions for Henry on that one? Mr. Young, first.
Is this, David Young, is this something that you've done in the past, or is this something that's new as far as having this purchasing agreement?
We have used Amazon in the past for purchasing parts. Purchasing asked us at one point to use their Amazon account. So we decided to go on our own Amazon account just to kind of expedite the orders a little bit quicker, because we tend to get our items 1 to 2 days with the account that we have. I'm not really sure what Amazon account they had for purchasing, but we decided to go on to use our own Amazon account. This helps us get out of jam if there's not parts locally. Sometimes you can get online and find things quicker, and it's delivered the next day or the day after.
Mr. Roth?
Is there a potential cost savings? I mean, we're paying 50,000. Do we get bigger discounts, or is it just faster shipping?
It's faster shipping, but you also have competitive pricing as you search. So you tend to take the lesser cost item.
Okay. So do we think we'll break even then on the investment?
I would, I believe that, I'm not sure what the initial cost is for the Amazon account. I would think it's probably 100 or
Well,
200 bucks.
You're saying 50,000. So if we get
Oh.
savings,
Up to
I
50,000,
can.
right?
So just so we're clear, most of this is small item, non-capital commodities, and
understand.
they're buying it, daily, monthly. In order to purchase the amount or the dollar amount, we have to have an agreement, or we'd have to do competitive quotes, or we have to start doing this. So this is a joint purchasing agreement that is available. It was already done competitively, so you can join the agreement. Purchasing is supporting Omnia agreements that are done for joint purchasing agreements. And we would be buying things from Amazon as the reseller or the agent reseller under that agreement. And they're small ticket or small items, and it's not to exceed $50,000. It's not a $50,000 contract. So the issue we have is you have to ask for the authorization in order to create the POs and to pay the POs in order for them to process. So as these, $100 to a couple $100 invoices come through and they add up to say $3,000, they'll say, do you have 3 quotes, or then do you have a bid for it? This actually answers those questions. It's an Omnia.
that eliminates it. So that actually saves a lot of Mr.
Yes,
Caius'
it's
time.
a lot of overhead for us, a lot of,
And we pay him a lot. So we want to
Yeah.
save this.
And well worth it.
But do we get like preferred pricing, like example Prime?
mostly
Yeah.
shipping, Prime shipping, free
Okay,
shipping.
so technically,
There is free
those
shipping. There are some of our suppliers that charge shipping. Purchasing works really hard to make sure that we don't pay shipping.
Right.
We try to include it in the overhead but that is something we'll get away from, is the shipping cost and the more expedited shipping.
well, and then all the paperwork we have to do with each one.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davist. Mr. Davist. Ford. Young,
Young, yes.
Juby,
GBI.
Caius.
Caius, yes. Passes. Item B, may I have a motion to present and potentially approve a resolution authorizing a contract for the fire alarm system upgrade bid 24-011-TK, moved by
Juby.
Juby, second by,
Berman,
I think I heard Ford, at least on one of those. Okay,
Yes, item B for building management is the entering a contract with ADS Commercial for the fire alarm system upgrade. This is for the Judicial Center, the Juvenile Justice Center, Branch Court, and the Third Street Courthouse. The cost of the project's $2,720,194. 10% of that amount is 10% contingency that will be held by the county. It is budgeted as a capital item when we're recommending your approval.
okay, any questions?
Heidi?
We also have Charlie Johnsos from Kluber Architects and Engineering.
Oh, okay.
She's the lead project manager for this project. They designed the project description and we put this project up to bid and she's going to give us a quick overview on the project.
That's Heidi Files was mentioned, didn't give you credit for doing the introduction. And go ahead and just state your name, please, again, and there may be a light on
There we
there.
go. Got it.
Yeah,
Thank
lean
you.
right into it.
My name is Charlie Johnsos. I'm a project manager with Kluber Architecture and Engineering out of Aurora, Illinois. I'm also an architect by training. And so thank you for having me here today. Roger, would you mind advancing the slide, please?
I can do that for you. Yeah, sure. You got it?
Thank you.
Oh, guys, gotcha.
I just wanted to do a quick overview of the timeline of the work. The county went out for an RFQ for A&E professional services back in March of last year. And then Kluber Architect and Engineers were selected in June of that year. We based our work on the RFQ. And in the RFQ, there was 3 main requirements that the county requested. One was that the basis of designs was Edwards Systems, and that it would include the first 4 buildings and have an expandable system, a system that would grow and accommodate these buildings as well as future buildings. And then lastly, that it was a mass notification system, and I'll get into the specifics of what that means. We completed the design back in November and went out to bid on November 14th. Bids were opened last month, and a scope review was conducted both by the county and by Kluber Architects and Engineers. And as Henry mentioned, this bid includes the $150,000 contingency, and we're anticipating completion of the work at the end of this year. Next slide, please. Thank you. So just basis of the program, again, it's a mass notification system, and what that means is that it's a voice system. Currently, you're an audio system, so it's just noisemakers, alarms in the buildings. Movement to the mass notification system is industry standard, and it does assist with understanding the system. This replacement and upgrade makes the buildings compliant with the Illinois Accessibility Code. The code shifted from audio alarming to visual alarming, which is considerably more devices. The other component to the project is the obsolescence of the current system. You can see by the age of the first 4 buildings, some in excess of 30 years. What that means for Henry and his staff is that it's difficult to find parts, and it's hard to get service on that equipment. So upgrading the system is an important factor. Again, as mentioned, replacement of an audio alarm to a voice notification on the premises. Again, that audibility increases comprehension. If you have a voice coming on and saying, please be aware, there's a weather event, the words mean more to you than beeps and sounds and whistles. In simple terms, it goes from horns to speakers. The next item up there is, no, I'm sorry, stay on the slide, please. Yeah, thank you. The maintainability of the system was very important to the county and the folks that service these units. It's a reliable, non-proprietary products and licensing. And what that does for you is on many levels, right? Today, it allows the ability to get parts readily and easily. It allows your staff to work on this equipment because they would manage those licensing. And it allows for in the future, when you expand the system to other buildings, that you can continue to get competitive bidding. And then finally, it's a secure system. We're all very aware, unfortunately, very aware of malware and cyber security issues. This system is more secure in its design. So then the next slide. Thank you. As mentioned before, I'm not an engineer, I'm an architect, so I'm going to stay away from the technical parts, but what I want to demonstrate with this slide is simply how it works and how it connects to your buildings. The yellow line represents your existing fiber, so you're connecting these buildings through existing lines that you already have. And the 4 buildings identified again are the JC, the JJC, the Branch Court Circuit on Randall Road, and then, of course, the Third Street building. The Third Street building, as it looks a little island, it is because it's not connected in that hardwire circuitry, but it is connected to this system. And again, the important factor here is that it's expandable. The other nomenclature that you might want to be aware of is those little clouded red bubbles that are next to the sheriff's office and the MUB. Those are ports that would allow that live voice interruptions. So you can have some pre-recorded voice announcements, and then you can have a live voice announcements from the sheriff's office informing you of emergency situations. Next slide, please. The figure on the left there was Kluber's latest cost estimate, which went out right before the bids came in. And then the bid tab is on the right. And again, as Henry mentioned, this includes that 10% contingency. And the only elements that I want to outline, one is that contingency is the counties. And the expenditure of those line items only come from county personnel, that their approval of what it would mean. And it could include unforeseen conditions. It could include an adjustment to what the bidders assumed they were going to do in terms of in wall or on surface. But again, those are county funds. And at the end of the project, if unexpended, come back to you. And then finally, it's a very tight schedule. We're every single device in all four of these buildings, after the approval of the main board next month, they're going to be starting right away and working very quickly. The other element to keep in mind is these are occupied buildings, secure buildings. They're not just, we can't just shut down the building and start working. You guys are using them a lot. So these schedules and the contractors' pricing reflect those constraints. The board was, the administration was very good to include information about access to the building and when they could be on site. And then after that, if you have any questions for me.
Okay, Mr. Young?
David Young, who is the manufacturer of these fire alarms? I saw that you have the like Wooddale Electric, and are those just the are those a distributor that sells certain equipment, or did you pick out a specific brand of the fire equipment?
It was,
And they're going
I'll
to
give
install it?
Mr. Fonstock?
So there was a specification in the bid package, and it had basically a brand and model that we were looking for, obviously for the integration and coordination, but also it had comparable other. So there's the option if somebody proposed something differently, but we did have a standard bearer in the bid package. So all of these people that are vendors or contractors bid on the bid request and the responses and the costs associated with it. So Kluber developed the plans that were being bid on,
Okay.
and they'll be working with us to manage the project as well.
So who is the manufacturer of the?
The basis of design was Edward Systems, and the low bidder has affirmed that that's the system that they plan to install.
Okay. And where is Edward Systems located? I mean, is that a
It's
US
a manufacturer.
Okay.
And
Is it
I've-
a US-based company, or I'm just curious?
And I don't have the answer for that, but I'm happy to get back to you.
It's fine. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Just for my own curiosity.
We should look fucking.
Buy American
Sure.
when we can. Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Roth?
Is the requirement that you have to flip the switch in all of them at once, or it's a stagger implementation?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well, you have 4 different buildings or 5 buildings. Do you have to do them all at once, or could you do one building at a time?
They will be staggered in terms of install, just the installation side of it.
Okay,
But if
so
you're
we-
talking about when it becomes live and
Right.
all integrated system,
Right. When you're done, all
yeah.
5 will be, but
at the end of the project, at the end of the year, December 31st is actually the date we've got on the calendar. We anticipate that all these buildings will be under the new system and active and operational for the staff to
Okay.
monitor.
okay, so we don't have to worry about flipping one switch and all the lights go out because of the brownout.
Correct, yes.
And I noticed all the ones at the Judicial Center are through fiber connection. What's the connection to Third Street?
The Third Street connection is through the network.
So
It's not fiber.
This is Roger again. I can explain. I mean, we have.
We can do
fiber-
it offline if you want.
Yeah, we have fiber connectivity into the building. We don't have dedicated fiber. So
Okay.
it's not on a dark fiber. It'll be on a
Okay.
circuit, basically.
Okay. And then in the presentation, you mentioned a current system is like 30 years old.
In some of those buildings, yes.
Yeah. What's for the new system, what's the expected life of it?
I
Is
don't-
30 standard or should it be like 20 and we should have replaced ours 10 years ago?
I actually don't have the exact dates on those. 20 is what comes to my mind.
It's best
but
practice.
But I also know that this system allows a little bit more flexibility to the county than your previous
Okay.
systems. When I talked about those non-proprietary parts and upgrading it.
Oh, I fully understand
that-
all
and-
that. Yeah.
And I, sitting in a few technical meetings, I can say from, I'm not
Well,
not an engineer, but I stayed at Holiday Inn last night. The upgradability within this system is more powerful than what you have currently
Okay.
because it's open source and because Edwards is constantly upgrading those devices. So what I say by that is if a device were to come down or parts of the system, you'll be replacing them on a more frequent or more
okay.
as needed basis. And
Right.
so the whole system in itself will probably endure longer than than what the life of it is.
Okay.
The larger
So
pieces.
it evolves over time is what you're basically saying,
It is, and the largest piece for your systems would be your panels.
right?
And I can come back to you with actual durations and timelines for those of life cycles. But those are the big parts. The devices themselves, I know are more replaceable, but it's the panels that you'd be more in the life cycle.
Well,
of.
and the way it seems we're evolving with building maintenance is we're being more proactive. So having that in mind, we can budget for it and stuff and not all of a sudden have Leslie's non-favorite emergency requests.
Heidi, I will follow up and send an email to you.
Thank you. That's all.
Is that all? You sure?
Yeah, well, I could go a lot longer, but I don't want
No, you
to put
can't.
you to sleep.
That's right. No problem. You actually had a question in there. I was interested in how it was hooked up to the 3rd Street because it was out on an island. And, but I forgot what my question was that
Okay, sorry.
going through all of that now. Yeah, would we be updating? I'm guessing that since this brings us into compliance with the standard, that would have an effect on just how long live this is. At some point, there will be a standard possibly above this, but it's nice to know that we're in a position to be able to change that out without having to, with the priority system.
Right,
It's
right.
just all uniformly, we can do it ourselves.
I did come on with one more. It's a long range. We would roll it out to other existing buildings or only new buildings.
Yes.
Okay.
You can adapt to other buildings as you add on to the system. That's part of the
What
reason why we want-
budget allows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we want to be safer here. when-
Ongoing for safety, I'm sure, in
Yeah,
courthouse.
especially when
certainly has
we have the
priority,
admin
yeah.
meeting. Yeah.
We're in a death trap here. We've
Yeah,
got no
Yeah,
excuse.
exactly.
Okay, great. Thanks, Charlie. I didn't say that in public, did I? Yeah. Oh, well. Then we're calling for the question on this one.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis. Ford,
Yes.
thank you.
Berman.
Young,
Yes.
Juby,
Yeah.
Tyus.
Yes, and that was that Berman, you got it?
That was Mr. Davis.
Oh, Davis, oh, okay. Did Berman vote?
Yes. mhm.
Okay. Okay, great. Then may I have a motion to present and potentially approve a resolution authorizing expenditure of funds for furniture installation and related services with fellows through Omnia Partners. Moved by Juby, second by
Young.
Young.
Yes, item C is allowing building management to enter into an agreement with Fellows, which is an Omnia partner. What this allows us to do is buy furniture for current build outs that are on the capital project list. It is budgeted for 250,000 and we're recommending your approval.
Any questions for him? Mr. Young?
So this is similar to what you guys are doing. You just have a maximum of 250,000, but it's just so that you can purchase when you need this, right? Same thing as the Amazon.
Yes, sir.
account. Okay.
Yep.
This is, yeah, up to, most of these are up to, but good point, to bring that out, yeah. Roll call, please, I guess, and no other questions.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Young,
Yes.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
Passes.
Okay, then may I have motion in a second to present a resolution authorizing present and potentially approve a resolution authorizing a contract for Kane County insulation and fire stopping services bid number 24007-TS. Moved by
Juby,
Berman,
B, second by Berman.
we're moving this along.
Yes. Item D here on the list is authorizing building management to enter in a contract with FireCo for fire stopping and insulation services throughout the county. It is budgeted and budget amount is 100,000 and we're recommending approval.
Okay, any questions? Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Young,
Yes.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Caius.
Caius, yes, and that was an up to again. Then may I have motion and second for a resolution authorizing expenditure of funds and using a joint purchasing agreement for the purchase of furniture installation and related services from Midwest Office Interiors. Moved by
Berman,
Young, second by Juby.
Yes, item E is authorizing agreement contract with Midwest Office Supply. This again is for office furniture for future renovations. It's budgeted for 250,000 and we recommend your approval.
And that's an up to.
I just have a quick comment. So this,
Yes.
David
Mr.
Young, so this is the same as item C, it's just another vendor, right?
Yeah, sometimes it's nice to have two vendors because then
Right.
you can get a competitive quote. So they are fighting against each other sometimes to get a lower price. So
Or they don't, one doesn't have it. Got it. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Mr. Berman,
Berman, yes.
thank you. Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Young,
Yes.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Caius.
Caius, yes. May I have a motion and second for a resolution authorizing expenditure of funds and using a joint purchasing agreement with the purchase of maintenance, repair, and operations, MRO, supplies, and equipment through Lowe's Pro. Moved by
Young.
Young, second
Juby.
by Juby.
yes, item F is authorizing building management to enter an agreement with Lowe's, which is an Omnia partner as well. It is budgeted item, 75,000, and we recommend your approval.
Mr. Young?
Same thing, right? You just have another vendor.
Up
Now
to-
it's Lowe's and you can go online, buy it, ship it, just like the Amazon thing. It's right?
Actually, our technicians, Lowe's is real close to our facility. So usually if they have a work order, they know they need something, they usually stop and grab it on the way.
Yep.
So that helps that out.
Great.
Okay. Great. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Young,
Yes.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Caius.
Guys, yes.
Passes.
Motion passes. Item G, may I have a motion and second to present and potentially approve resolution authorizing additional funds from fiscal year 20, maybe, this one's the one that's changed, right? Maybe I'm going to ask that we word this as, rather than funds, it's expenses, authorizing additional expenses from fiscal year 20
Mr. Chairman,
with, yes, ma'am.
we've been asked to change it to spending.
Yeah.
So it would read authorizing additional spending for Kane County General Construction Services with Industrial Construction Services, Inc.
Mine is notes of expenses.
Um,
Not sure where that one comes from.
this came from Heidi.
Okay, well, we'll get
Would
some
you like me to
clarification
explain?
on that. How should that read?
It should read authorizing additional spending for Kane County General Construction Services with Industrial Construction Services, Inc. and MR. We have an existing resolution that authorizes us to spend a certain amount of money with both of those companies. We did a bid solicitation and these two companies were awarded contracts. We don't have a specific spend amount for either of the companies in the contracts, But as projects come up on an as-needed
Well,
basis.
actually, I'd like to get the wording down first, then you can explain it. If you
Sure.
don't mind, so I
Yeah.
get too confused.
Sorry.
This resolution will be additional spending from fiscal year 2024 budget. for
Actually,
Kane County.
we're just removing the words funds from FY 2024 budget, and we're replacing those words with the word spending.
Spending, okay, from the budget county general, for Kane County General Construction Services with Industria Construction Services Incorporated and MMRW Construction Services bid 23-032. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Correct?
Heidi, this is the one you showed me.
Yes.
Okay, then that's what it is. I'll take a motion or a motion in a second.
So moved.
Yeah, that would be Juby.
Davis,
would be
second.
Davis, second. Then
Mr.
you have
Chairman,
some explanation. yeah.
just to be clear, in the title, Industrial Construction Services and MRRW are two separate entities, and in the now therefore be it resolved, I believe you need to add Industria. As it says you're with MRRW Construction, doesn't mention Industria, so,
It's on what I gave you.
Is it on the
Chris. Well,
modify?
It's on the one I handed him.
oh, it is, okay,
Yeah.
just to be sure. They're not one company, they're two, just to make sure we have both.
Yeah, she's at.
And we can.
We had it in red. and-
It's in the red.
Okay, and these are mostly actually just.
We can make sure that that's on,
It's, and I'm not gonna ask you for an amendment. I'm just gonna ask that we include those changes in that. And then
As it
go
goes to
along with this, and we'll
finance.
vote for that. Okay,
And then there'll be another one too.
unless there's an objection, okay? So then we'll have roll call on that one unless there's questions about the. Yes, sir, Mr. Ross.
Is the 200,000 across both of them or 200,000 for each one of them?
It's
It's to be spent between both contractors.
Okay,
It's
I
not
just
set-
wanted edification. Thank
Correct.
you.
It's not each. Okay, then roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Young,
Yes.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Caius.
Guys, yes. Okay, then may I have a motion and a second for presentation and potential approval of resolution authorizing a contract extension for architect, engineer, and construction manager at-risk services contracts, RFQ 42-020, moved by
Young.
Young, second by
Juby.
Juby.
Yes, item H is authorizing building management, authorizing a one-year extension with the three architects that we have on contract, which is White, Healy Bender, and HOK. The amount is 700,000 and it is budgeted. So we recommend your approval.
Okay. And then clarification for those that are maybe new to this is that we opted 2 years ago or so to have three architects so we can pick from amongst those the best that we, or if they were not able to do the job, the others would be available. We wouldn't be stuck without anything. Okay, so any other questions or any questions? Clarification? Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis, yes.
Ford, Young,
Yes.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Caius.
Guys, yes. Item I, may we have a motion and a second for a resolution authorizing additional funds from fiscal year 2024 budget for Kane County Elevator Preventative Maintenance Service.
Mr. Chairman, we would like a title change in that one as well, authorizing additional spending for Kane County Elevator Preventive Maintenance Services, bid number 23-011. I'll move that.
Well, can we just include that in that?
I'll move it I'll move it with the title change. You
Okay.
didn't- We didn't have a motion.
Oh, I see. Okay.
By
moved by
moving it.
Juby, second by
Berman,
Berman. Again, that's a very simple change in the language. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Young,
Yes.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Caius.
Dice, yes. Item J, may I have a motion and a second to present and potentially approve the resolution authorizing a contract for fire protection services, amending contract. Moved by
Juby,
Juby, second by Ford.
Yes, this is item J on the list, and it's authorizing building management to enter an agreement with Alarm Detection Services. They were one of the bid responders to 23043, and there are multiple bidders to this. There was some language that the state's attorney had to approve, so they are added to this contract being separate than the other vendors. It is budgeted. It's 500,000 to use within all the vendors on the list of the responsible bidders who are actually awarded the contract. It is budgeted, and we're recommending your approval.
Okay, and that was for a different resolution or a different contract for bid?
No, it's the same bid. This is a separate resolution adding them to a list of contractors we're able to use.
Okay. Any questions?
Same bid number,
And the bid number was,
23043.
so from last year? Okay. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Yes.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
Passes.
Okay, on to information technology. Thank you, Henry, for presenting those. Well,
Thank you.
Charles Lasky may I have a motion and a second to present and potentially approve a resolution authorizing a contract extension for security cameras and building access control systems bid 30-019. Moved by
Juby,
Juby, second by,
Berman,
next time. Charles?
Yes, this is Charles Lasky with the IT department. So this was originally bid in 2019, and this is the second and last renewal of that original bid. So this is budgeted, and originally the amount we authorized was larger than our typical spend, but we are taking into account the sheriff's camera program that he was doing with Convergent, ended up being a vendor that they used. And this also helps cover some of the projects that are under the ARP fund that we have been given funding for. So everything in here that we will use is budgeted. Again, it's an up to $750,000 per fiscal year. We don't anticipate spending that, but we do have the authority to do that if needed and funds are allowed. So we'd recommend approval.
Okay, any questions for Charles? Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Young,
Yes.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Caius.
Guys, yes.
Passes.
Okay, item B, may I have a presentation, can I have a resolution to present and potentially approve authorizing a fiscal year 2024 budget adjustment to roll over public safety sales tax funds related to fiscal year 2023 projects. Moved by
Juby,
Juby, second by
Berman,
Davis.
Berman.
So I would like to make a clarification and a possible change to the way this is worded. I was speaking with Kathy, who's here, and the term rollover is not something that we should have in this resolution. This resolution is basically asking for a budget adjustment since funds can't be rolled over for 1 year to the next. It's funds we didn't expend last year, so this would be asking you to actually make a budget adjustment to put these additional funds in this line. So just to clarify that, so everybody's on the same page and understands what we're asking for. That would also apply to the next resolution.
Okay, then I would ask the committee to consider that as part of the
how would it read?
resolution.
How would that read then if we're dropping rollover? Just budget amendment to public safety sales tax funds?
Correct.
You don't need to replace
Well, I just need to know what the actual
No,
wording is going to be.
Delete rollover. Kathy?
It's an increase in the appropriation. So you could say increased appropriation, supplemental appropriation.
We could. What should we say?
Supplemental appropriation, supplemental appropriation.
So we remove adjustment to rollover.
So it would be authorizing a fiscal year 2024 supplemental appropriation to public safety sales tax funds.
Yes.
Say budget adjustment and take.
Davis with a question.
Our state's attorney has a comment. We ask you
Oh,
closer to the mic. I can barely hear you, Mike. Yeah.
My suggestion would be is if you just don't describe it, just say a budget adjustment. The resolution describes it.
Okay. So then they would read, authorizing a fiscal year 2024 budget adjustment
to Public safety sales tax funds.
to public moving.
Is there a problem? with
Well,
that?
we're trying to, it's taking a while. We're trying to come up with sample templates for resolutions and kind of clean up the
problem
language.
is that the state statute says a budget can't be increased once it's adopted. So I don't like using the word increase.
Or
That is
supplement,
true.
either one.
But a supplemental appropriation is what this is.
Okay, I suggest then before this goes to the next step, you can pass it out of this committee. I would strongly urge that the state's attorney's office weigh in on what I just said.
Mr. Chairman.
Aren't
Ford?
these funds that weren't expended last year?
Right, but each
Then why isn't
year,
it just a transfer?
each year's
start
budget
talking-
is a completely separate year. The county does not roll over unused funds from one year's budget to the next year's budget.
Well, I understand you don't want to use the term rollover, but we're taking funds that weren't expended from this line item from last year, and we're going to put them into this line item for this budget year. That
Right,
sounds a
but
lot.
it doesn't work
transfer.
like that.
Okay.
Well,
So you guys
for the
come up with the
language,
language.
the short language that'll get us from A to B. And Mr. Ford, you had a comment and then
Yeah,
I'm fine.
I think we're trying to make this too, I mean, the
it's-
resolution is always going to describe exactly what it is. Right. Budget adjustment is exactly what used in more than one governmental body. It's a common term that really actually makes things simplified, but the resolution itself is always going to go into more detail. That's why we have resolutions.
Okay, so then I'm going to suggest that as the chair, we adjust it to budget adjustment to public safety and then allow the state's attorney to massage, or you can check with the state's attorney and massage it.
I have been
Before it gets
talking
to
to the
next one.
state's attorney about this sort of language, because we're developing some language to adjust our county financial policies in terms of budget adjustments and supplemental appropriations. So, but we can take this to the state's attorney.
I feel
Absolutely.
comfortable enough passing, knowing what we're trying to approximately do here without the language, the
Mr.
specific
Chairman, one more
language.
time. Forward.
Pass it to finance.
If this gonna happen with with these language adjustments, can we just someday at executive do them all at once and go over them, when we can just talk about that alone instead of going from resolution to resolution?
I think you gotta break it up.
Sounds good to me. I don't know exactly what that means, but
Well,
we're
gonna just go over the language itself, because it may be several different ones and understand them all at once instead of
How
one
does that
by
help
one
us
as they come
today?
through. Because you're gonna have it here, you're gonna have it at another committee, you're gonna have it at another committee, you're gonna have
how
another.
does that help
committee.
us here today? What do we want to pass then today?
Just
Budget
keep it
adjustment.
simplified, yeah.
We're going with budget adjustment, if that's okay with the committee.
Budget adjustment with the understanding that it will be reviewed through our state's attorney based on the advice of the state's attorney, assistant state's attorney who's here now.
And our finance director. Yeah. So they can agree to it.
I would agree with that.
Sounds good.
The other, I wouldn't use the word you use, is massage. I would say wordsmithing maybe.
Okay, we'll just.
But there again,
Going to
whatever the
finance.
state's
Yeah.
attorney comes.
Going
up.
to
More
finance.
semantics. We're going down the.
Well,
whole
no,
thing
I have a
now.
question is, have we identified all the ones that, the dollars we didn't use last year yet? Or is that still part of closing out the 23
Doesn't
budget?
exist.
I'm going to move along,
Okay, never mind.
because that was a question for finance.
Yes, it was.
Okay, if that's okay, roll call, please.
Berman,
Yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Young,
Yes.
Juby,
Should be I.
Pius.
Yes, yes.
Passes.
Item C, I would ask for a motion to present a resolution to present and potentially approve authorizing the fiscal year 2024 2024 budget adjustment to the information technology capital funds related to fiscal year 2023 projects. And that would be also with the caveat that the rollover would be gone. It'd be just adjustment. Okay,
Davis will move it that way.
Ford and then Davis.
So this again is funds that we were anticipating spending last year on a project and the project didn't complete in time. So that's why we're asking for this budget adjustment.
Okay,
You got the same problem of the use of the word rollover.
right. We're moving rollover, but that was the caveat from the previous one will then apply to this one. As my committee is nodding and approves. Okay, roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Young,
Yes.
Juby,
GBI.
Caius.
Guys, yes.
Passes.
Motion passes. Item D, may I have a motion and a second to present and potentially approve resolution authorizing a contract for the Information Technologies Department for uninterruptible power supply UPS system replacements with installation of our RFP 24-012 KK. Moved by
Berman,
Young.
Young, second by Berman.
Anybody in the room?
This is Charles with the IT department. So this is a resolution to authorize the purchase of a UPS system. We bid this out, working with the circuit clerk, which is where the system's going to go. Their system is aging and at the point where they can't get parts. So it was reviewed and Nationwide Power Solutions was the vendor that was selected. This is budgeted and we would recommend approval.
Okay.
I have a question, Mr.
Then I would, Mr. Young?
David, what is the cost of this UPS?
oh, come on.
I didn't,
$130,430.
Yeah.
It's 118,430 with 12,000 in contingency, depending on what other work might need to be done to get it
it
installed.
includes the installation of it as well. What's the
Yeah.
power of that $100,000 power supply?
The 40,000.
So that one
that
is,
circuit
I
clerk?
don't have, it's circuit clerk. So that's used the power of the data room that's there as
Mhm.
well as their floor computers to keep them up, to keep court running in a power outage. There is a generator on that building, but this keeps them up while that goes down.
I'm just curious how big that, because
Yeah,
this one I bought for my computer at home is this big and.
oh,
you know,
yes, this device is several, it's like 4 feet tall, probably 6 feet wide with
In the
external
interest of
batteries,
moving this
but-
along, and I'll have you guys
That's
talk
fine.
about
It's
your.
more than 100 watts, so.
Yeah.
It's more like, I think the original one was somewhere in the 100,000 watts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so,
I should
Yeah.
have wrote that
It's
down.
gotta be big enough for that. I did.
The ones we
thank
use
you.
are
Thank you for
40,000
the-
watts, so.
Yes,
Yeah.
go. Thank you.
Interesting as this is,
It is.
it's fascinating. Yeah. This is a great job, man. There's all kinds of really interesting things every single day. But we're going to try and move this along and you can talk over this
I will.
later.
You're 100%.
And then
right.
roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Young,
Yes.
Juby,
GBI.
Caius.
Caius, yes. Not, Caius, not interested in spending another 7 hours in meetings.
I know, that was
Today.
a long day.
Thank you.
Item E, may I have a motion and second to present and potentially approve resolution authorizing expenditure of funds for Laserfish Software Systems renewal with OPG-3 Incorporated. Moved by
Young.
Young, second by
Juby.
Juby.
Yes, this resolution is for our annual maintenance. This system is used from our court for document management and workflows, forms. It's used from everything from the application process that was built to onboarding of county employees to different forms that happen within the court. All our resolutions are actually, when they go through the process, are stored in this system. This is budgeted, it's used across the county, and we would recommend approval.
Okay, any questions? Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Young,
Yes.
Juby,
GBI.
Caius.
Yes.
Passes.
Phase.
Item F, may I have a motion and a second to present and potentially approve the resolution authorizing extension of contract for audiovisual services, equipment maintenance and repair, bid number 33-019.
Berman moves.
Berman moves, second,
Young.
Young?
Okay.
So this again is a renewal of a contract that was bid back in 2019. This is the second of the renewals in the last 24-month renewal. It is budgeted and it's per fiscal year not to exceed resolution, and we'd recommend approval.
Okay. Excuse me for just one moment here. So my alarm doesn't go off again. Time's up. We better go. Any questions for Charles? Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Young,
Yes.
Juby,
GBI.
Caius.
Guys, yes. Motion passes on to section 11, Mill Creek. May I have a motion as item A, may I have a motion second to present and potentially approve resolution authorizing an extension of concrete lifting and repair services agreement for the Mill Creek Special Service Area. That's bid number 09020. Moved by
Juby.
Juby, second by
Berman,
Berman. And Roger.
Okay. Microphone's off. Sorry about that. This is
It's all happening in the end.
a extension of an existing agreement with Raise Right. They do the concrete lifting in Mill Creek. It's a budgeted expense. These are raising squares of sidewalks to level them throughout the neighborhood. Last year, I think we did about 200 of them. So this is just budgeting for next year's lifting. We did the north side. We're going to do the south side next year. And then we also will be bringing through there's some ADA sidewalk intersections that we're going to be bringing through as well, but this is just the leveling of squares of sidewalk.
Approved by the residents in Mill Creek.
This is part of their Mill Creek SSA budget.
Mr. Young?
Oh, David Young, how is that done? How do they like put stuff underneath it? Like,
They use I think it's like a polyurethane or a type of a foam that they inject under the slabs and they lift the slabs. It used to be called mud jacking, but it's the same technology, but they use a synthetic material that's more permanent that won't settle out as quickly.
Got it? Good. Roll call, please.
move on.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Young,
Yes.
Juby,
GBI.
Caius.
Guys, yes.
Passes.
Motion passes. Item B, may I have a motion and a second to present and potentially approve resolution authorizing a contract extension for Mill Creek SSA brush pickup services with date correction. Moved by
Berman,
Berman, second by Ford.
So, okay, this is a resolution where we had stated in the contract date, I think an incorrect date. So we were asked to correct that to extend the contract to the proper time frame for the 1-year extension expiring March 26, 2025. It's a small amount. I think the seasonal work, there's 3 pickups and it's not to exceed $29,906.49. It's in the special service area budget and we're recommending approval.
Questions? Roll call, please.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Young,
Yes.
Juby,
GBI.
Caius.
Guys, yes.
Passes.
Motion passes. Section 12, vehicles. Item A, may I have a motion and second to present and potentially approve the resolution approving approval to purchase a replacement vehicle for the Kane County Sheriff's Office. Moved by
Berman,
Ford, second by Berman. Roger, is that you?
No, we do have Mr. Ed
Oh, I'm
Kaddish
sorry, yeah,
here
Ed.
from the
Hey.
Sheriff's Office.
Yeah,
and,
Ed Kaddish of the Sheriff's
Sure.
Office. This is a replacement vehicle for a vehicle that was rear-ended while the deputy was on patrol. Pushed the rear end of the vehicle up to the back seat and is no longer drivable. So,
Good time to replace. Okay.
So wouldn't that be paid by the
Citation.
hit them?
yeah, it would be covered under insurance, but we still have to procure
Buy
the
the-
vehicle, the insurance money, then go back to the general fund, I believe.
Okay.
Money coming later if it's from insurance, coming later. Okay.
I know.
Yes, Mr. Young.
I'm just joking.
Ha ha.
Getting
Okay,
Very
roll
well.
call, please, if there's no other questions.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Young,
Yes.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Tyus.
Tyus, yes.
Passes.
Motion passes. Item B, may I have a motion second to present and potentially approve a resolution authorizing the purchase of 4 vehicles for the sheriff's office, moved by
Berman,
Berman.
anybody who do, Berman?
Berman did say.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. Okay,
The 3 of these 4 vehicles are for new transit vans for our evidence division. The current vans have outlived their lifespan, and the ratings are in the paperwork attached. The 4th vehicle is for a new F-250 for our special operations commander. Ford, when we believe due to the United Auto Workers strike, has suspended all Ford patrol vehicles, the Explorer program, any future orders. So we have no idea where we can get them. So what we're going to do is take this F-250, present it to the operations commander for the specialty units, and use his pursuit rated F-150 and pass that down into the patrol division.
okay, I transcribed the number here, but my transcript was like 4 vehicles for 45,000. Is that?
I believe there's 3 for 45,000 and 1 for 65.
And so it's each then.
Yeah, it's
Oh, I see.
45,000 each for the transit vans.
Dollar amount was 232,143.
I grabbed the wrong numbers. Okay, thank you. Okay. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Berman,
yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Young,
Young,
Mr. Young,
Question.
Mr. David?
Yes, I'm sorry. I said yes. Sorry.
Juby,
Juby, I.
Tyus.
Yes, yes.
Passes.
Okay, under new business, we're going to launch into some signage. The suggestion, I think Ms. Juby brought it up to analyze our signage here and make corrective actions eventually.
I brought it up to Henry because I had noticed in other board meetings, other county board members had mentioned that they had had experiences with people wandering aimlessly across the campuses and wondered what we could do about it as an immediate fix. So that's why I brought it to Henry and then to you, which resulted in Heidi taking all these fabulous pictures.
Okay, so these are Heidi's pictures? Okay, I will start this by saying that I think that this is an excellent idea because you're right, it keeps coming up, rotating, and I spent a number of meetings when I first got on the board in a different committee examining signs from all over the place and really not getting much accomplished. So I look forward to what we're doing here and your suggestion to do it. And would suggest that we make sure that we make this a priority, but also put it in a, not just a sign by sign, but a plan of some sort, putting together, I don't know if it's a subcommittee or something like that, that would be.
I think that was the intention, was
Okay.
to look and see what we had and then look and see how we could make it better and then how we could roll it out.
Okay,
Just because I've heard it from other board members that this is,
so Heidi, I noticed that there is in your agenda a number of pages here. You want to go through them very quickly just to give us a highlight, like a quick
Sure.
1.5
We just went-
speed?
Yep,
Yeah.
we went to the judicial campus and the government center campus. That's it. Oh, and sorry, the old courthouse. And just take a look at the different kind of signage that's out there. Is it multilingual? Is it clear? Exterior, interior. So this is basically just a small inventory of what is out there. You can see, I think someone mentioned this earlier today, that sometimes we have a new rule or a new requirement, like when you look at the judicial center, the security entrance, a new requirement, and we have a paper posting.
Like
So-
that one there.
Yeah, like here, there's a paper sign on the upper right at the government center there. So just a lot of different media we're using and, different times that these signs have been implemented. There are a lot of different ways you can approach this. We could probably, investigate this as part of the FY 2025 budget if we want to start doing some planning now. But also my understanding is that we, as building management in the county, we don't have, control over what the judicial leaders want. So it would have to be a collaborated project
In
approach.
that particular area.
Sure.
But we do here, we wouldn't at Third Street or Judicial.
Roger, do
Ms. Kim?
you have any?
Well, I mean, everything that you do with the signs at the offices for elected offices would be something that you'd want cooperation with. The county building signs, and I think the drive and access signs are something that we obviously maintain and take care of. Once you get into the office area, I think that that's where you'd have to cooperate with the officials. Certainly the judiciary, the sheriff, you know, and any of the areas with detention like juvenile, you're gonna need a sign, like a plan for that building with the officials' support.
There are companies that
Yeah.
focus and that will put together a plan. They're not,
Oh.
they're not inexpensive, but they'll do a complete inventory. Generally, it's usually like an architectural firm who
I
will.
will tell you that the ABC signing on this campus was done as a result of a study. And
That's what I was afraid of.
yes, so just so you're aware, it was done as a result of a study. It was probably, I'm gonna say it was 12 years ago. And they put up the monument sign out here on the middle road, and they put in those signs for ABC and lettering of the building. So, you know, some of the other signs that are like kind of ad hoc posted on the glass, those certainly, you know, are things that pop up throughout the year. People say, I need something that says this in order to protect a particular interest. So
Well, I'm
those are,
sure we would probably start with the
yeah.
important signs that are posted outside just for the traffic and foot traffic and auto to get to the various offices around here. But did I see a hand over here, Mr. Roth?
Just real quick, there's a national standard on street signage, which I think if you work with the transportation department, they have certain sizes, certain colors, certain fonts. Why reinvent the wheel, at least for the outside signs?
So is this something we want to assign to somewhere? I'm looking for input from the committee on, so that we can get this so we can focus it down, so we're not just looking at signs and get a group that will focus on it.
So I think the original intent was to deal with the signs that were customer facing, right? Not the ones that came in the building, but people who were, I mean, it's obviously going to be a phased in, very costly thing. So I think we need to start with identifying what signs people will see that will help them find out where they're supposed to go, and hopefully in a language that they can understand. So I don't know if that needs to go to a subcommittee or if that's something that, you know, we can do internally. But I think when someone comes on this campus and they need to go to the clerk's office, they need to see a sign that shows them. And if they end up over here, they need to know where they're supposed to
Have to
be.
be able
So,
to read it and follow it. Yeah.
right. So, I mean, I'm not saying we need to reinvent the wheel and redo all of the signage. I'm just saying that when we have a client facing sign, it is our obligation to make the services findable. You know, they need to be able to find out where to get their services.
So
So,
then that'd be under the purview of building management, at least that part of it, right? So,
Mr. Chairman.
yes, sir.
Yeah, just a
Mr.
cautionary note, if you establish a subcommittee, that is going to be another Open Meetings Act. You
No.
have to have minutes, notices, and so forth, and there might be a better way to organize that then.
Thank you, Mr. Shepro. Good point. Yeah. Excellent. Then would
Davis, your comment?
Mr. Davis?
Perhaps I could get somebody at transportation to talk with Henry about some of the needs. We at transportation have the ability to make signs ourselves, and maybe maybe that's an approach that would be a good value and cooperative.
Thank you for the suggestion. I personally would like to see if we can at first address this and see if we need to go broader than that. And maybe Mr. Fonstock could give us an idea in the future meeting or something about.
This is Roger again. I think this goes back to kind of what I was trying to put in the middle between the master plan and this sign topic as well, is that even if the best intended signs, without having the organization of the offices, will send people in another direction to be lost again. And when we do have some challenges with language on this campus, that is something that I think it is important to address. But where the services are, how you get to parking, and then how you get to the service that you're looking for, is really important. I think that can be a part of the planning for this campus. I don't think you want to take a one-off approach and try to, do
Fix it sign by
something
sign.
as opposed to
I
understanding
think that's
this
what I was getting at. too, is that-
services. So making it a part of our planning process is something when I saw this, I was like, that would fit well with a government, more of a government center plan. That might be a short-term objective.
Is
Is that,
number one.
yeah, once you start going into the idea of say renovating or changing this campus, you will need those signs. You'll need to figure out how you're going to get people to the right place, because we're going to be disrupting things. So that'll be part and parcel of planning for this campus over the next, 1 to 3 years, let's
So
say.
I would be happy
So-
to work with another committee member, Juby, if you'd like to, and with
Sure.
Roger staff, and we'll, I won't say massage this, but
And we
I
can
say
bring it
we'll
back
work
here.
at it and bring it back with more of a formalized idea of what the best practice would be to take this forward. Because I think you're absolutely right. I like to see us get a grip on this. Mr. Young, did you have a comment? No? Okay. I thought I saw a movement. And you're flinching too. Okay, I guess we've been here too long. Okay, then I think we understand where, just by committee agreement, we'll move this into staff and a couple of us on the committee here to work on that. And is there any new business or old business other than that? Any comments from commissioners? Okay. No old business. May I have motion and second to put the reports on file?
Unanimous consent.
Oh, then I will entertain a unanimous consent from someone. No, you're not on a committee. Mr. Young is asking for unanimous consent to place the reports on file. Any objection? Nope.
No.
It's so. None, no need for executive session. No public comment on non-agenda items. Motion to adjourn. Move by Ford, second by Juby. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?